Alright, and which one is this? I feel like I'm at 25 or 26, aren't I? 26, cool. Which is the valiant little Tailor out of this version of Grimm's Fairy Tales. And I got no clue what the story is. I'm it probably is just a story and not one with a moral. The thing is, as I was reading through it, I did start to recognize it. Crap, I'm not sure. Fractured Fairy Tales, I think, was the name of the thing, if from a Rocky and Bullwinkle. Because my parents have that full set, and my dad loved that growing up, so we watched through that a few years ago now. But in any case, I'm not really sure what the point of the story is, aside from being a story, aside from being entertaining. So you got a Tailor who, excuse me, he's a woman outside who was selling jams. He's like, come in here, I'll buy some. And it's a little weird because it describes it's like, yeah, give me 4 ounces of it. She does, and she walks away. She wanted to make a sale, and she did, but she still walked away unhappy. I'm not sure why. Anyway, takes the jam, cuts some bread, puts the jam on the bread. But instead of eating it, he goes to work on a jacket. So flies start coming. He's like, get away, get away. And he even says they don't understand German, so the flies keep coming. Okay. Just because the flies don't understand German is your reasoning? Anyhow, eventually he takes a towel or something like that and swats at the large mass of flies. And I just... Sorry, a bit of cloth, in any case, though. Does that, and he manages to kill 7 in one swat. 7 in one stroke. And he is so proud of this that he decides to make a girdle that says 7 in one stroke on it. And it's like, he does this so he can show with the town, no, the world, what he has achieved. Now I actually kind of wonder. I don't have a Twitter account for this, for the fiction method, and there's part of me that doesn't want to bother with that. But I do kind of wonder what would happen, like, and just put on there 7 in one stroke, and just what would happen. How many people would get it? How many people wouldn't and would still respond? I mean, because that's kind of what happens here. Is he's wearing that and he goes out, first grabbing a thing of old cheese, sticks that in a pocket so he has something to eat. And he also finds a bird stuck in a thicket, like outside his door. So what does he do? He grabs that and shoves that in pocket too. Why? Because it serves the story. Who would go around and just be like, oh, there's a trapped bird there. I'm going to take it and put it in a pocket. Anyhow, he's going and encounters a giant. And the giant is being kind of belligerent to him. But, you know, the Tailor's like, well, see? 7 in one stroke. Now the giant, because it's like, so awesome. I managed this. And the giant is like, thinking, he killed 7 men in one stroke? Huh. I don't believe it. But watch this. He takes a rock and crushes it in his hand until water comes out, which, by the way, is not completely unreasonable. So the Tailor pulls out the cheese, which apparently the giant does recognize as cheese, crushes that so that some fluid comes out from that. He's like, I think I even did better than you. All right. Giant takes a rock, throws it up in the air, and goes so high, he almost can't see it, but it falls back down. So the Tailor takes the bird and throws that up in the air. And because, like, that doesn't come back down. That'll never come back down. So defeats the giant. The giant isn't done yet. And is like, all right, help me move this tree out of the forest. The giant is really stupid because the Tailor ends up saying, all right, I'll carry the branches. You carry the trunk. Because, the branches are the heavy part. The giant is carrying the tree and not able to look back, so the Tailor just jumps on top, so the giant's just carrying both of them, both the tree and him. And whenever the giant would, stop or something, the Tailor just jumps down and pretends like he's been carrying. And it's like, dude's a jerk. He's a real jerk here. That's right. The giant takes him home to be into like, oh, well, you were worthy. So why don't you come back to my place with all the other giants? Here's a bed you can sleep in. Tailor doesn't sleep in the bed. He sleeps over in the corner because the bed's a bit too big for him. It isn't meant for a giant. The giant then takes a metal bar and tries to kill him in his sleep, assuming he's in the bed. When they all leave, they think, oh yeah, he's dead, but then he shows up, so they run away. They're not that smart. He continues, he comes to a kingdom, but before like encountering anyone there, he just lies down, goes to sleep. And they see his girdle and think, oh, 7 in 1 stroke. Again, thinking it's 7 men he can kill in 1 stroke. Tell the king, and he's like, let's have him join our military service, because if we ever enter war, that's the kind of man we're going to want. Yeah. And he's like, sure, because why not just continue with this lie? So, he's now in the military service, except that the other people that are part of the kingdom already are like, I don't want to work with him. I don't want to work with somebody that powerful, that strong. How does it actually put it? But it is essentially just that they are envious and jealous of their own positions. What is to be the end of this? They said amongst themselves, if we quarrel with him and he strikes about him, 7 of us will fall at every blow. Not one of us can stand against him. We are not prepared to stay with a man who kills 7 in 1 stroke. So the king decides, all right, I gotta get rid of him. Because this is a problem. Like, that is a bit too much, a bit too strong that, what do you do if there's a problem? Which, I'm just thinking, I mean, like, go to Arthurian legend, Lancelot was, except for Galahad, his son, considered the greatest knight. Period. But Lancelot was, except when it came to Guinevere, absolutely dedicated to Arthur. He had no cause for concern there. But it still is like, yeah, you could see how other knights there, or even just men of war, would not be comfortable around Lancelot, because he is freakishly powerful compared to all of them. And it's also, who was it? I remember, it's been a while, but one of them also had this weird ability. Well, it was, he received a blessing that basically during the morning, he would become stronger and stronger and stronger until noon, when he would be 3 times his normal strength. But the moment the sun passed out of noon, he would return to his normal strength. And actually was important because he basically was struck a lethal blow, but it was only because of this enhanced strength he survived until that time, and the moment that hit, he died. But yeah, it's... Anyway. Arthurian legend is interesting. Anyhow, so the king has to get rid of this the tailor, who they think is not a tailor, but some great hero. He thinks he has to get rid of him somehow. So he's like, I'm going to give you a task. If you succeed at it, and naturally this is going to end up becoming 3 tasks, 3 challenges. If you succeed, you can marry my daughter, and you can have half my kingdom. Because he figures he'll never succeed, so that'll be rid of him. The first challenge is to take care of... There are 2 giants that are murdering, robbing, ravaging, all that fun stuff. Like, go take care of them, and you'll win, and you'll have her, and all that. And you can have 100 horsemen with you. He's like, I don't need them for help. They can stay back. And they need to stay back because he just tricks the 2, where he basically gets the giants to start fighting amongst themselves. Alright, so he manages that. The king's like, okay, before you do, I need you to go and deal with this unicorn. Which, by the way, unicorns, not necessarily good creatures. Just like in a lot of fairy tales, I'm pretty sure, they are not positive things. It's a much more modern concept of them being these noble, pure beasts. That, well, not beasts, but animals that, something to be impressed by. No, it's actually like destroying places, killing people. It's not good. When he comes across it, it's actually gonna just like gore him to death. And it's like it fully intending just and pierce him, run him right through. He just jumps out of the way, though, and because it does kind of talk about tailors are light and nimble. He jumps out of the way so the horn gets buried in a tree and is stuck hard enough in there that he is able to put a rope around its neck and then take a hatchet to chop off the horn. And then he brings the thing back to the king. It's like, okay, well, before you marry my daughter, there's this wild boar. Go take care of that. And again, he uses his nimbleness where he, and this is also a thing in Arthurian legend. They're just chapels in forests, apparently. So he manages to have the boar chase after him. He runs into a chapel, but then jumps out a window, which the boar can't, and then he just runs around and closes the door, so the boar is trapped in there. And then he shows it to the huntsman. So it's like, well, king can't deny me now. So marries the daughter, all that. Well, at one point, he's talking in his sleep. And she figures out, oh, he's a tailor. That is below me. Father, we must do something about this. All right. When you go to bed tonight, you come, open up the door. I'll have some men come in, take him, put him on a ship, and he'll have a worldwide cruise. And not coming back. Except he's got a friend who overhears this, tells him, and he's like, okay, I got this. So she opens up the door. He's lying there. He's awake. And he basically repeats what he had said before that, gave away he was a tailor. And then also adds, hang on, what exactly did he say? Because I do have it right here. I smote 7 at one blow. I killed 2 giants. I brought away 1 unicorn and caught a wild boar. And am I to fear those who are standing outside the room? So those standing outside the room were scared, ran away, so she's stuck with him. So the little tailor was a king and remained one to the end of his life. It's like, okay, what the hell's this story? I mean, maybe it's something, which I wouldn't actually expect depending on the time period, talking about how, yes, a lowly tailor can become a king. See, I don't know if that's appropriate for that time period. I don't. And it's also, he is a jerk. He is not really that good a guy. I mean, he is witty, he is intelligent, but he is abusing the situation. I mean, there's no other way to put it. That is what he's doing. Well, there might be other ways to put it, but that is what he's doing. It's an accurate way to put it. And it's also, I don't know how much it would be that you'd want to teach your kids, depending on when the story is from, that, yeah, even you of lowly birth can become a king. It's like, I'm not sure if that would be quite accepted. But going back to Arthurian legend, one thing that I do remember seeing pointed out about why Arthurian legend survived and why King Arthur was a popular story, was because he was of noble birth, but he was not raised as a noble. And it is a little weird how his birth came back. There were weird things to that story. Yeah, he is the male heir to Uther Pendragon. And so he does essentially ascend to that. But Merlin who helped with him being conceived. You know, I will explain. Just let me get through this. So he was raised by. No, I wasn't. Sir Kay is his adoptive brother. I don't remember the name of the father though, who raised him. But he was raised as like a squire to Kay, so he wasn't considered that high. I mean, he was indeed the true prince and all that. And it wasn't until drawing the sword from the stone that was revealed. But one reason that I'd seen for why Arthurian legend survived as it did, there would be at least 2 reasons. But one was because he was a king of the people. And so the people liked telling the story because of the idea of having a king who was of the people and from the people, and so he still had a love for the people. He wasn't just a royal asshole. Another reason why the story could survive is because Arthurian legend absorbed many other legends, like the Sir Gawain. Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. That story predates Arthurian legend. But Gawain became a Knight of the Round Table. So and that's a whole thing as well, because Gawain, Gareth, Garrus, think there's two more. One of them is Beaumont's? How do you pronounce his name? I was saying there's 5 or 6 to that family, all Knights of the Round Table, and they're all actually his cousins, Arthur's cousins. Mordred is also there, which that one's weird. But anyway, going back to just to explain, Uther fell in love with the wife of a general, some other lord, fell in love with his wife and wanted to have relations with her. Sorry. So he did 2 things. One was he conspired so that the dude would be killed. The other is he visited her and with the help of Merlin had a spell cast on him so that he would appear to be her actual husband. This is a problem. There are many problems here. But one thing, and reading Le Morte, it is weird that she eventually has this told to her. It's explained to her. And it does bother her until the point is made that she and Uther weren't together until, like, it was actually after the hour of her husband's death. So technically, it wasn't adultery. It's still not a moral act. But it's like, oh, that's good. I mean, I kind of read it in the hopeful way that she did in fact fall in love with Uther. And so it's like, oh, good, I didn't commit that sin. A different sin, but not that one. It is weird. But then it's also got later to further complicate things. Gawain, Gareth, their mother is actually a half-sister to Arthur. Arthur becomes king, does not yet know the family relationship, though. Sees her, and decides, all right, I'm going to take her to my bed. And this is also he's not married, she is. It's like, I'm just going to do this. That conceives Mordred. Arthurian legend gets weird. Okay, it gets weird. Because there's also then, Lancelot is in love with Guinevere, Arthur's wife, who there's no evidence that I can recall after they got married him ever being unfaithful to her. She, however, did fall for Lancelot, and yes, there was some hanky-panky eventually. Yeah. And it was one of those things, all the knights knew it. Arthur, however, couldn't really acknowledge it because Lancelot was his greatest friend as well. So he can't acknowledge the betrayal because it would force them to be separated. And also, and this is ultimately what ends up happening, some of the knights would go with Lancelot if they broke apart. Some would stay with Arthur, but some would go to Lancelot. And in fact, because Mordred orchestrates some stuff that forces a split, where Lancelot kind of sort of by accident kills actually one of, I think it was Beaumont's. So one of, I think it was more so Gareth pushing it, maybe Gawain. He's like, no, I have to avenge the death of my brother, and it doesn't matter that it's Lancelot, it doesn't matter that the king does not want this war, I must do this. But then Mordred took advantage of this because he stayed home. For whatever reason, Arthur decided, yes, you will be steward while I have to go and wage war on Lancelot. Then finds out, oh no, Mordred has decided I'm going to take over, I'm going to declare myself king, make Guinevere my wife, and just basically say, yeah, Arthur's dead, they killed each other, that's done for. So they all come back. Lancelot comes back too because, no, I will always protect Guinevere. Big war, bad war, everyone dies, basically. Arthur does die. Lancelot lives, Guinevere lives. They both, she becomes a nun, he becomes a monk. It's a sad story. But it's also with the whole loving Guinevere. That also got turned on Lancelot at one point. Where there was this young woman who desperately in love with her, and by the way, she's desperately in love with him. She is a princess. And I don't remember who it was that helped her with this. Disguised herself as Guinevere, or got him drunk so he wouldn't know, and she just said he was, or somebody told him, hey, that's Guinevere's chambers, go. Yeah. That conceived Galahad. Yeah. It gets more appropriate in some ways. Like, it makes more sense when you get to the search for the Holy Grail, because it is in fact explained at one point that yes, Lancelot, you are the greatest of knights, except for Galahad. The reason why you will not find the Grail, but he will, along with two others. But the reason why is because you need to give up your love for Guinevere. Basically, that is wrong. You are betraying Arthur. That is sinful. You need to give that, and he can't. So because he's marked by that sin, he cannot go after the Holy Grail. While Galahad and the two others, I don't remember their names, they are pure. Galahad certainly is, and Galahad is technically the greatest knight. Does surpass Lancelot. But because the three find the Grail, two of them die shortly thereafter, Galahad being one. And Galahad is like straight up just like goes up to the Grail and is just like praying there, and is like, "You can take me now, Lord." And Lord is like, "Come on." It's actually a beautiful scene, but it still is like, that is kind of how that happens. I'm pretty sure that was Galahad. Might have been the other one. And then a third actually does like come back and report, but yeah. Anyway, I should come back to the Grimm's fairy tales. L'Amour d'Arthur, it was fun to read. It was also a little hard to read because it wasn't the best translation. But it was definitely interesting, because there's a lot of interesting stories in there. If I hadn't already read it, like within the past year even, it would be interesting doing a sign reading it, but it's also one of those, that is so long. I couldn't do one chapter a video. I couldn't do it. I would need to pull them together, because that would be like a year or more of just that. No, I'm like 40 here is enough. It's long enough. Alright, yeah, so I got no idea if there is a moral to the story. I kind of want to believe there isn't, that it is in fact just a story. Because, I mean, it's like, even the thing that got me talking about the Arthurian legend stuff, Arthur was highborn. He wasn't raised that way, but he was highborn. So it made sense for him to be king. It seems odd, the idea, if this is trying to suggest that, oh no, you too can be king. But then, I mean, I guess it's true, we did have just recently with the shoes that danced themselves to pieces, that was a soldier. So yes, he does also become king. But I guess, I mean, there was greater sincerity to that soldier than this guy. Because this guy's only in the situation because he's essentially just continuing a lie. And so, yeah, I don't like this story. I don't like him. He's not a good person in my mind. He's not necessarily a bad person, but he is abusing the situation, so yeah. The three languages is what we got next. I got no clue on what that's going to be. And then Hansel and Gretel after that. That will be interesting. And that's a long one, too, it looks like. Interesting plate there of the what all is. But yeah, that's a long one. All right. I can't really decide if my ability to go off on tangents is a good or bad thing. Because on the one hand, it's a bad thing because it inflates these videos. On the other hand, though, it is a good thing because I can just sit and talk about this stuff. I was like, I care about this stuff. Like I was going off in that one other video. I care about this stuff. It is interesting to me. I want to be able to talk about it. Even things I don't necessarily like in stories, I want to be able to talk about. And I see that as a good thing. So I think it would be better if I wasn't alone. Yeah. Wouldn't that be fun doing this with somebody else? Probably not. Most people would probably want to kill me after a while. Anyway, I shall see you next time for the three languages.